I would like to first thank the organizers for the invitation to give this talk here. I was asked to talk on neutrino phenomenology, and after some discussion with the amongst the speakers earlier on other speakers of neutrino session, then I decided to speak. We decided that I will talk on highlights of oscillation results and future prospects. So the evolution of neutrino physics truly represents the story of impossible dream from to the unreachable stars with the detection of ultra-high energy neutrinos of extraterrestrial origin by the IceCube experiment. So the poem, which was the theme poem for ICEP, was very appropriate for neutrino physics. And as we all know, neutrinos are very weakly interacting, unlike what we are seeing recently. But they mix with their friends, and so much so that they get confused who they are, and this gives rise to the phenomenon of neutrino oscillation. So this is the flavor states. Neutrinos are produced in the flavor states, and they are propagate as the mass states. This leads to neutrino flavor oscillation, and this is the oscillation probability. U is the mixing matrix, and delta denotes the mass square difference times L by 4E. So these are the parameters which are the mixing matrix U, which is parameterized in terms of phases and angles, the mass square difference, and one has to tune the length and the energy so that one can observe oscillations at different scales. Now, for antineutrinos, U goes to U star. So this term will change, and then interaction with matter modifies the mass, mixing, and probability. And in that case, the probabilities are obtained by solving the propagation equation in matter, which depends on the density profile of matter. I will come to that more later. So, as we have seen already in the two talks earlier, there are 9 parameters, 3 masses, 3 mixing angles, 3 phases. Oscillation experiments are sensitive to the mass square differences. They are not sensitive to the Majorana phases. They are not sensitive to the absolute masses. And there are 2 possible orderings, normal and inverted, depending on where the 3 state is, below this pair or above this pair. So this is the oscillation parameters are constrained by the global analysis of data. And these are the experimental data that goes into global analysis, including solar, atmospheric, accelerator, and reactor data. And these are the parameter sensitivities, main sensitivities. Solar and CAMLAND are sensitive to the 1,2 sector and theta 1,3. Then reactor experiments are sensitive to the 1,3 sector. Atmospheric plus long baseline experiments are sensitive to the 2,3, 1,3, and also delta CP. Interplay, theta 1,3 is common in all, and there is interplay among different sectors because of non-zero theta 1,3. So this is the new data which was announced in 2004, and we have heard about this in the parallel sessions also, and also from the previous speakers. So this is the status of oscillation parameters when we include this new data in 2004. This is from the NEWFIT collaboration. And what is important here, I would like to point out, is this theta 2, 3. These are the best fit points, 33, 49, and 8.5 for the mixing angles. And theta 2, 3 is the best fit is in the second octant. This blue is for inverted hierarchy. There is a local minima in the normal hierarchy. And then there is delta CP, which has a best fit around 251, but in 3 sigma, the whole range is allowed. Although the global best fit comes in inverted hierarchy, there is no hierarchy sensitivity because, as you can see, this difference is very less. So there are 3 groups who are doing this analysis now, and here is a pictorial representations of the results from different groups. This is by the NEWFIT group, this is by the Bari group, and this is by the Valencia group. And so what we see, this represents the best fit values, these dots, and the 3 sigma ranges. The solid line is for NH, dashed line is for IH. So what we see is that the analysis by different groups are in agreement, excepting for theta 2, 3, where we see that there are some differences. So let us check theta 2, 3 little more in little more detail. So this is from new fit. So here we see that the best fit, as I have said earlier, it is coming in the second octant and IH, and NH local best fit at first octant. From the Valencia group, NH and IH separate fit, and both gives best fit at second octant. And this is from the Bari group, where you see that pre-neutrino 2014, they had the best fit in the first octant, but after including the results from mainly from Diabe, their best fit went to second octant for IH. IH is the red, NH is the blue. So this is post-neutrino 2014. So this is the interplay of data, that if they have long baseline solar plus CAMLAND, then they are getting in the second octant. When they add for reactor, then the invert NH is coming in the first octant, IH stays in the second octant, and when they add the ATM, then the NH preference in the first octant increases. Whereas the Valencia group results are somewhat different. They are getting with LB long baseline solar plus KL in the first octant. With the reactor, it goes to second octant, and atmospheric has no effect. So the theta 2, 3 situation is still unstable, and some differences are due to the different atmospheric procedure for atmospheric neutrino analysis adopted by the different groups. So this is the status of delta CP. So here we see that if I have the LBL, this accelerator solar plus KL, then mainly driven by T2K, there is a hint for 1.5 pi. However, if you add the reactor data, then this remains same, but the theta 1, 3 range becomes narrow. SK changes it little bit. And this is this is after neutrinos, including the new results. And here you see that here the continued hint for delta CP at 1.5 pi. But with the reactor result, what happens is, because some of the theta 1, 3 range gets disallowed, this gets more disfavored, this region of delta CP value, after adding the reactor results. And then with atmospheric, there is slight shift here. So this is the status of delta CP. So here I have summarized the progress since ICHEP 2012. This was the talk by Concha Gonzalez Garcia there, and this is by the same group, the precision. So you can see the main improvement is in the theta 1, 3 precision. There is also precision in theta 2, 3. And there is a hint for delta CP now at 1.5 pi. However, this precision is still not as good as the quark sector. So these are the main unknowns we heard from the previous speaker. So I will just say that in my talk, I will talk about the neutrino mass hierarchy, octant of the 2-3 mixing angle, and CP violation in the lepton sector. A lot of work has been done in this field in the past years. And these are the things which can be probed in the oscillation experiment. So I will discuss mainly this topic. So these are the future experiments for hierarchy, octant, and CP. We had a lot of talks on this in the parallel sessions also. We heard from Marco also. So this T2K NOVA, then there are JPARC to HK detector, then LBNO, LBNE, ESS, Daedalus, then the reactor-based experiments. So then there are the future atmospheric neutrino experiments, magnetized iron detector experiments, INO, 50 to 100 kiloton volume. They have the muon energy measurement and direction reconstruction with charge ID. It can be magnetized, so there is charge ID. It can determine the neutrino energy through hadron shower reconstruction. Then there are the megaton water Cherenkov detector like Hyper-K or Memphis. They have large volume. The main USP is large volume, megaton. Then these are SK-type detectors with no charge ID, but they are sensitive to the electron events. So that is a plus point. Then also there are liquid argon detectors for atmospheric neutrinos are being considered. These kind of detectors are sensitive to electron and muon events. There are also some papers on the charge ID for both. However, I think the main challenge is to get very large volume liquid argon detector, and now people are not talking so much about magnetizing it. Then there is IceCube and then Pingu with a lower threshold. The main advantage is a huge volume and the statistics. Also, they have sensitivity to the cascade events, and as we will see, this will be helpful for them in determination of hierarchy. So atmospheric neutrinos, the advantage is that they provide a broad L by E band, and they can experience lot of effects when the neutrinos pass through the Earth, lot of effects through the region of Earth matter effect. So now I come to the survival and oscillation probabilities. The superbeams mainly produce the nu mu, so they have the nu mu to nu e. We are looking for the nu mu to nu e and the nu mu to nu mu, the disappearance and the appearance channel. And this is the expression for the appearance channel probability expanded in small parameters alpha, which is the solar times atmospheric mass ratio, and delta, which is the, and sine squared theta 1, 3. However, because now sine squared theta 1, 3 is not so small, there can be corrections to this, and these have been worked out by these people. But for the purpose of my talk, I think this equation will be sufficient to explain the physics issues involved. Now here the main part is this A hat, which depends on the matter density. So this is due to the matter effect. So this is plus minus 2 root 2 GF NE by delta m squared 3 1. So depends on the neutrino energy and the matter density. The plus sign is for neutrinos and minus for antineutrinos. And this depends on delta m squared 3 1. So this changes sign with sign of delta m squared 3 1. So this gives the hierarchy sensitivity. However, the problem is that there is also a delta Cp involved here, and we don't know the value of delta Cp. It can be from 0 to pi still. So this, for some values of delta and delta Cp, we can have, when we want to check hierarchy sensitivity for a minus delta, then some other value of delta Cp may give us the same probability. And this is called the hierarchy delta Cp degeneracy. So this is a plot I show for the NOVA baseline of 810 kilometer. And what you can see here is that this blue represents the normal hierarchy, so this shading represents the Cp band, and yellow represents the inverted hierarchy. And this is the plus 90 line for normal hierarchy, and this is the minus 90 line for inverted hierarchy. So you can see that at plus 90 for normal hierarchy, there is overlap with the inverted hierarchy. So degeneracy for NH at plus 90 and IH at minus 90, that is the most prominent region. And this shows the hierarchy sensitivity of NOVA, the violet line and the blue line, NOVA plus T2K. And what you can see is that here in the plus 90 region, where the degeneracy is prominent, the hierarchy sensitivity is not so good. However, if one adds the T2K data to NOVA, then there is some improvement because of the different dependence on the probabilities, because T2K baseline is 295 kilometer. However, still it is not sufficient. So I would like to mention here is that here I am showing the median sensitivity using no fluctuations. However, hierarchy being a discrete variable, there had been a lot of discussions in the past years about the statistical issues, and for that I refer to the talk by Matthias Matthias gave a talk on that in parallel session. So the main conclusion from here is that for true NH, this is the favorable zone, minus 180 to 0. For true IH, you see that here the true IH minus 90 is the problematic zone. So this will come here, and we will have an unfavorable zone here. So the hierarchy sensitivity depends on your true delta Cp. So this is when you go to a larger baseline like LBNO 1300 to 2290 kilometer or LBNE 1300 kilometer. So here you see that if I add LBNE to 22K NOVA, then I get greater than 3 sigma for all delta Cp, and if LBNO, then I get 7 sigma. And why this is so? Because this you can see the difference in the hierarchy is much more here, and this is because of increased hierarchy sensitivity due to enhanced matter effects. However, this 2290 kilometer gets such a high sensitivity because also its proximity to bimagic baseline, and this is what the bimagic baseline is, that if you consider the PE mu term, then the delta Cp dependence comes from this term, this order alpha term. And here I have a sign A hat delta by A and sign 1 minus A hat delta by 1 minus A. Now the bimagic condition is sign 1 minus A hat delta, sorry, the bracket should be here, 1 minus A is 0. You can see that this depends on hierarchy. So it is possible that I have no Cp for IH, at the same time I have a maxima in NH. If I demand this condition and solve this, then I get the lowest baseline where this is satisfied is 2540 kilometer and E 3.3 GeV. Again, for the same baseline, we can demand no CP in NH and maxima in IH, and then I get at 1.9 GeV. Recall that when I have sin A hat delta by A 0, then at 7,000, I get 7,500 kilometer. This was the magic baseline where both NH and IH have no CP sensitivity. However, here the NH, which has the maximum probability, can have a CP sensitivity at 3.3, whereas IH can have at 1.9. So then when we go to larger baselines, then neutrinos can encounter the resonance effect, so which makes this angle large. So then delta m squared 3.1 greater than 0, we have resonance in neutrinos, and when this is less than 0, we have resonance in antineutrinos, because of which you see that there is a lot of difference in the hierarchy, and the hierarchy delta CP degeneracy also is not there for these kind of high baselines, and atmospheric neutrinos can pass through such baselines. So here I am showing the atmospheric sensitivity of INO. This was using the three-dimensional analysis using the hadron data. These results were presented first in ICHEP. And so here we get for sin squared theta 2 3.5, 3 sigma sensitivity in 10 years. This is the true theta 1 3.1, sin squared 2 theta 1 3. And if I have a higher octant or higher theta 1 3, then I have a higher sensitivity. So this is for SK. They have electron events and 3 sigma sensitivity approximately in 5 years. And here is Pingu. So Pingu has a very good sensitivity if they include their cascade events also. This is the cascade and this is the track. And they can get 3 sigma in 3 years. So this is the, if we include the NOVA and T2K information for INO, so this is the ICAL curve. And this is ICAL including NOVA and T2K. So we see that there is a lot of synergy if we combine atmospheric and long baseline, and we can get 3 sigma sensitivity in 6 years by adding T2K and NOVA to ICAL. And here I show for LBNO, that LBNO, this green curve is without NOVA, T2K or ICAL information, and the red curve is with the ICAL information with the same exposure, but one can see that one can get much higher sensitivity if one adds all the available information. So this may help in economizing configurations. So hierarchy sensitivity can also come from reactor neutrinos, and this is the Reno and Juno, and here you see that this is the maxima for delta 2.1, and then there is a minima in the survival probability. And this is the, so they can measure the energy from the interference term between the solar and the atmospheric and distortions in the energy spectrum. However, one need better than 3% energy resolution. With higher energy resolution, the distortion is not visible. And so this is the kind of sensitivity Reno and Juno can have, and they can reach 3 sigma and more depending on the parameters. And here it is optimized around 52 kilometer. And as we go further, the sensitivity drops. So this is a hierarchy sensitivity of atmospheric and NOVA experiments. This is following this paper, but we have added the new INO plots, and we have taken NOVA as 3 plus 3. And this is the Pingu and Hyper K from their letter of intents. And here the lower end of the band represents the worst sensitivity. So Pingu and HK have huge statistics for higher 2, 3, so the statistics increase very high. And then if this is the favorable delta CP range for NOVA, and it is the unfavorable delta CP range from NOVA, so early hint may come from NOVA or NOVA plus INO. So now I come to the octant degeneracy. So the probability P mu mu has a dependence of 2 theta 2 3. So the degeneracy is theta 2 3 going to pi by 2 minus theta 2 3. So this is the intrinsic octant degeneracy. However, because here I also have a delta CP, this can be generalized to theta 1 3, theta 2 3 delta CP degeneracy. Now, in the first term, the octant degeneracy, the theta 2 3 and theta 1 3 are correlated. So this is the continuous degeneracy between theta 2 3 and theta 1 3, which gets reduced when we have the theta 1 3 information. So this continuous region gets reduced to 2 zones if we have the information. So that is for the, so accelerator plus reactor data is helpful for this. And this is for the octant degeneracy for the nova, and we can see that the degeneracy pattern for neutrino and antineutrino are opposite. So combination of neutrino and antineutrino can be helpful in lifting octant degeneracy depending on the value of delta Cp. So here this shows T2K 2.5 plus 2.5, and it has a better sensitivity than T2K 5 plus 0 in some range of delta Cp. So for atmospheric neutrinos, because they are passing through the matter effect, so here the 2 theta 1 3 m is 1. So theta 2 3 theta 1 3 degeneracy is removed, and there is also p mu mu has a sine 4 theta 2 3. So the octant sensitivity comes from that term, and here you can see the degeneracy is not there. So this is the octant sensitivity. If we combine atmospheric plus LBL, so we see that combination of long baseline plus atmospheric can enhance the octant sensitivity. So now coming back to delta Cp, Cp is due to the difference in the neutrino and the antineutrino probabilities, and traditionally one plots, so this is a genuine 3 flavor effect, require all angles and the delta m square 2 to be non-zero. So traditionally one plots ACP, which goes as 1 by sine theta 1 3, and this is for delta Cp 0, so which is the matter term. So here things are complicated. Apart from intrinsic Cp in matter, you have the matter Cp. However, we plotted the chi-square for T2K plus nova, and what we see is that chi-square has a different dependence than the Cp asymmetry. So for the chi-square, it initially increases with delta Cp, then it decreases with delta Cp. One can check the limits of this equation and can see this very easily. And the current theta 1 3 range we found optimal for the chi-square. So the chi-square is defined as this, that we have the true delta Cp, and when we plot the discovery, then we take the test delta Cp as 0 and pi. And what we see is that, again in this zone, this is nova and T2K, is the favored zone for delta Cp, and this is the unfavored zone because this is the wrong hierarchy solution. So the hierarchy delta Cp degeneracy also affects the Cp sensitivity of these experiments. However, what we found is that although the atmospheric neutrinos do not themselves have any hierarchy sensitivity, however, if we add the atmospheric neutrino data with the nova and T2K, then what happens is that because atmospheric neutrinos have hierarchy sensitivity, so this is without the atmospheric neutrinos, and this is with the ICAL data 10% 10-degree resolution. So we can see that in the unfavorable zone, there is an enhancement in delta Cp, and there is a 50% increase in Cp coverage. Also, supposing we are in the unfavorable Cp values, then if we add at ICAL or any other atmospheric data to this, then we may get the first hint. So these kind of synergies are very important. And this is the delta Cp in long baseline experiments. These are presented in this parallel session by many people. And so these are the, so for if we go to higher baselines in LBNE and LBNO, we can get more than 5 sigma for some fraction of the Cp phases. So sterile neutrinos already Marco has summarized. There are 3 possibilities now, 3 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 1 plus 3 plus 1. Appearance data can be fit in all 3 schemes. However, there is severe tension when one disappearance data is added to this, and there are many future projects on which we had hard talks, which should be, hopefully would throw light on this. So the 2 fundamental questions that we have are why neutrino masses are so small and why neutrino mixing angles are so different than the quark mixing angles. And small neutrino masses are explained by seesaw mechanism, then radiative mass generation, seesaw plus radiative, and for mixing angle we have flavor symmetries, anarchy. Then we have mass matrix structures like TBM, which predicted theta 130. So that is now ruled out, and one has to go for perturbations to TBM. Then one has quark-lepton complementarity. I skip this slide because I have no time. This shows the connection of seesaw with various other activities, lepton like sign dilepton at LHC, lepton flavor violation, neutrino-less double beta decay, TV scale seesaw, GUTS. So all these, a lot of connections are there. But let me go to this, that is there a case for precision measurements? So here I show the 86 models were allowed, shown to be allowed in this paper in 2009 by Carl Albright. And out of that, we found that 24 models survive the present 3 sigma range. However, my students did a survey and they also found 54 new models. And you see the flavor boom here. So it's very difficult to beat the theorist. You can rule out some models, but some more may come. Here is a prediction for delta CP, which I find very interesting, because here we see this is the flavor model. They can, of course, predict delta CP in any range. However, the models with anarchy or GUTS, they have some different regions of delta CP, and so this may be helpful. And also the correlations, this is, for example, the texture 0. For instance, we know that for low energy neutrino mass matrix, there are maximum 2 texture zeros are allowed, and there are 7 possible textures that are allowed, and this is one of them, and in which we found some correlation between the delta CP phase and the mass, the lowest mass. So the parameter correlations may also play an important role. So this is my concluding remarks. We have impressive progress in determination of neutrino oscillation parameters. Discovery of θ1, 3 has opened the avenues for determination of mass hierarchy, octant of θ2, 3, and delta CP. There are many future experiments planned towards finding this. However, the findings of the current generation experiments will be a crucial input, and I would like to stress on the synergistic aspects between various experiments. Precision measurements may help in disfavoring models, but also many new models can be there. So parameter correlations may be important. Thank you.
Thank you for the very nice summary. Now this presentation open for questions or comments. Let's see. There.
No, just a brief statement on the so-called calibration, gallium calibration sources. They are not calibrations. I mean, both GALEX and SAGE use the radioactive sources to check if the overall performance of the detector was okay. And they found roughly 90% of what they were expecting. But they will never use that for recalibration, because this number depends on the cross-sections that are not known enough. So there is nothing particular there.
Okay. Any other? Okay.
Thank you. So it's just a remark. I mean, I think it's worth to mention also ORCA together with Pingu in order to measure the mass hierarchy. In particular, because I mean, it could have a better time scale. I mean, this is still all these things are still preliminary, but I think this is worth to mention it because it could be.
Yes. Thank you. I saw the poster by ORCA, and I thought of mentioning, but it slipped my mind at the last moment. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other? Okay, then let's thank the speaker again.